The peace of what would have been called the Serene Olympics was shattered just before dawn this morning, about 5 o'clock.
On September 5, 1972, the Munich Olympics massacre took root as members of Black September, a terrorist organization from Palestine, invaded the Israeli athlete living quarters in the Olympic Village, resulting in 17 tragic deaths. Despite this unthinkable tragedy, the Olympic community and spirit triumphed over terrorism. Additionally, it was a turning point for security at Olympic events, and it solidified the Israel-Palestine conflict.
The Israel-Palestine conflict started in 1948. Israel and Palestine used to be combined, but Palestine wanted freedom and Israel wanted their own state. Israelis got their state and Palestine got freedom, but not for long, as Israelis soon started overflowing into Palestine. The two states went to war starting in 1948. These wars included the 1967 Six-Day War, which was over the land of the Gaza Strip and West Bank. They were both Palestinian territories, but Israel overtook them by the end of the war. This really set fire to the conflict, leading to many other violent conflicts. Black September soon set their eye on the upcoming Munich Games.
Munich, the host of the 1972 Olympics, had a reputation to fix. Following the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, Nazi Germany, where Hitler showed his obvious racism and spread Nazi ideology during the event, Munich wanted to show that the Olympics they were hosting would be different. Black September was also motivated by the yet-to-be-broken Olympic truce. This truce represents the commitment of the countries to come together and halt any and all ongoing violence. Breaking the truce would give Black September the worldwide attention they desired.
At 4:31 a.m. on Tuesday, September 5, 1972, 8 members of Black September invaded the living quarters of the Israeli Olympic team at 31 Connolly Strasse. Upon arrival at Apartment 1, the terrorists were confronted by Josef Grutfriend and Moshe Weinberg. During the fight, Grutfriend was shot dead and Weinberg was shot, then forced to lead the terrorists to the other rooms while at gunpoint.
He led the terrorists past Apartment 2 and to Apartment 3 because he believed that the wrestlers and weightlifters living in Apartment 3 would have a better chance fighting off the terrorists than the sharpshooters because of their strength. However, Black September had a detailed blueprint of the rooms and who was in them, but they still avoided Apartment 2. Shaul Ladany, an Israeli athlete that escaped from the terrorists by being in Apartment 2, suggested that the only reason his room was bypassed was because, as he stated, the terrorists had struggled to subdue the unarmed men in Apartment 1. It is unlikely that they had wished to engage in a close-quarters gun battle with world-class marksmen in the opening minutes of their operation.
When the terrorists entered Apartment 3, Yosef Romano tried fending off the attackers but was defeated, mainly because he had a smaller range of movement while being on crutches. He was mutilated and left on the floor of Apartment 3 as a warning.
At 10 o'clock p.m., with 2 Israelis dead and 9 hostage, the terrorists led the Israelis to buses, transporting them to helicopters. The helicopters landed at Fürstenfeldbruck Air Base, 15 miles away from where the terror first started.
German police were planning an ambush at the airbase, but the operation went terribly wrong. The German army would have been much more prepared for the rescue mission planned, but because of their recent doings in World War II, the government chose to use the German police to handle it. The police were planning to ambush the terrorists upon their arrival at the airbase, but the police left their post. The snipers were not equipped with the right kind of weapons, and the armored cars that were heading to be an aid for the hostages were deployed too late and got stuck in traffic.
The helicopters landed around 10:30 p.m. When 2 terrorists decided to investigate the plane, they found it empty and got wind of the operation, so they notified their comrades.
The Palestinians went to the civilian plane to be sure that nothing happened. And the mistake was that they went alone without taking hostages with them. This is from Palestinian point of view. So on their way back, the German snipers killed them. And these 2 was the leaders of the operation.
This is when the gun battle broke out. The terrorists shot out the lights, so they were fighting in darkness. During the battle, a German official released a tragically premature announcement stating that all terrorists were dead and all hostages were safe. The reality was that, in the battle, 1 German police officer and 5 members of Black September were shot dead. Additionally, none of the hostages made it out alive. A hand grenade was thrown into one of the helicopters, killing 4 of the 9 hostages. Bullets were sprayed at a close range at the other helicopter, killing all of the remaining hostages. After the 20 hours of terror, 17 lives had been tragically lost.
Ourselves that these things happened and that they could happen again.
I remember, as it were, yesterday.
I remember in the morning pulling the curtains back and seeing someone standing there with a gun.
I heard the shots.
My father was killed. My brother died.
This may have been a very tragic event, but in the end, it had a very important triumph. The light showed through when the Olympic community and the participating nations were brought together in solidarity to show that terrorists could never really win. The community, including the International Olympic Committee Chairman, Avery Brundage, decided that the Games should and would not be halted because of the terrorist attack they had just experienced. Fear would not overrun the event that was supposed to bring countries together in peace. The light also showed through for many incredible athletes who broke records during the 1972 Games. These athletes included American swimmer Mark Spitz and his 7 gold medals, and young Russian gymnast Olga Korbut's 2 outstanding gold medal victories.
Following the attack, the Olympics were postponed for 24 hours to remember those who lost their lives, although the Olympic Committee decided not to postpone the Games any longer because the community wanted to make it very clear to the terrorists that they had not taken everything. This event showed the world the value of enhanced security at events as big as the Olympics. People learned their lesson from the horrible outcome of low security at the 1972 Games. Since then, the security budget has expanded from $2 million in 1972 to $1 billion in 2004. As well as the budget increase, the Operation Wrath of God followed the Munich Massacre. The Prime Minister of Israel, Golda Meir, was the chairman of a secret Israeli committee whose goal was to assassinate anyone directly or indirectly related to Black September and to the deaths of their people. Defense Minister Moshe Dayan was said to have organized the assassinations of these people. 3 of the 8 terrorists from the massacre survived and were released from custody. By the end of the operation, these 3 terrorists were dead, as well as many other people affiliated with the massacre. The Operation Wrath of God showed that peace was no longer on the horizon for Israel and Palestine.
This event has left a large mark on the world and its history. It solidified a border between Palestine and Israel and showed through this event that the 2 countries were and still aren't close to an agreement to reach peace. The Palestinians showed their message that they wanted not to make peace with Israel, but to show that Israel was their enemy using violence. Although it made the Olympics more valuable and meaningful for so many people, it brought people together in unity. It spread the Olympic message that sport has the power to bring people together. It builds friendships and draws lines of respect across borders, and it always triumphs. A quote from the Olympic piece.
That's the Lebanese fencing team. I'm going to talk to them. And I said to him, are you out of your mind? Israel is in a state of war with Lebanon. And he said, Anki, this is the Olympics. Here it is possible. And I stayed a little bit behind, and he went towards them. And they shook hands, and they were talking about the results and how wonderful it was there and everything. And he came to me and he said, you see, Anki, this is the Olympics. Here there are no borders. Here.
The Munich Olympics massacre of September 5, 1972 was a great tragedy that brought a triumph to the surface within people's hearts through their unity.